Buying a nice, but used item will last longer and cost less in the long run than something you buy at the dollar store. What is something that is expensive, but only owned by poor people? Rent to own. Spoiler, you never quite own it. Places like Aaron's just make me mad. It seems like you're getting a good deal, but you aren't. You're paying like twice as much for an item. Tattoos. They're not cheap, but somehow they're inked from head to toe. Slabs. It's hood rich, and they spend so much more on straps, candy coats, and clean AF interiors. Looks dope, but I don't care for cars that much to own one, and I'm not from Houston. Bad credit. It is expensive to make someone comfortable enough to loan you money without them being certain you'll pay it back. Lottery tickets. I mean, 99.99% of lottery tickets. I remember I had an old Chevy truck that cost so much to maintain and keep fuel in that I couldn't afford to save for another car. I literally kept me broke until I eventually joined the military and could afford a different vehicle. Crappy cars are more expensive than you realize. Well, at my job there are a few people who I'm aware of their salary. They make around $25,000 a year after taxes. One of them somehow has a lifted Ford Raptor that I hear is like $50,000. He recently acquired a motorcycle too. He probably thinks it's cool, but he's likely eating the dirt off his tires because he can't afford anything else but those payments and insurance. Payday loans. They should be illegal. They hurt people more than they help them. That's some people's only option though. If they have bad credit and the lights are getting turned off, that may be their only option. Once those are illegal, loan sharks come back and you just get beat or killed if you can't pay it back. Interest rates are stupid high because it's high risk to lend to these people who don't have money in the first place, and they would go out of business if they charged reasonable rates. The amount of privates in the Army who have just enough money to pay for their 30% interest 2018 Ford Mustangs. But not enough money to buy literally anything else is pretty ridiculous. Prepay electricity meters. I don't know about the US, but they exist in the UK. They aren't coin in the slot anymore, you put money on a card. But the worst thing about them is that they are often in rented accommodation for poorer people, and they charge a higher rate per unit of electricity than a normal meter. So the poorest people are charged more for the same thing. Edit, I have to add that a couple of people have pointed out that not all suppliers charge a premium these days, and there is now a limit to how much extra they are allowed to charge. Single items of things that should be bought in bulk. Like single rolls of toilet paper. Barely scraping by paycheck to paycheck means buying bulk is sometimes impossible. Samuel Vimes got it right. Take boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. But an affordable pair of boots, which were sort of okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought, and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was, in Ankh-Morpork on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time. While the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots at the same time, and would still have wet feet. A perpetually broken car. I was leaving an abusive relationship that also ruined my credit, so my parents bought me a car so that I could survive once I got out. They overpaid and spent $3,000 on a 2002 Toyota Corolla with over 200,000 miles on it. It was a nice gesture, but I'm now stuck paying them back every month, and I have spent over $1,500 in repairs on this car in the last year and it's still not running like it should. There's no way I could find another sucker to buy this piece of junk, so I'm stuck with it until I can pay it off, or until I fix my credit. What a mess. Usually quickly preparable food items. They're usually more expensive than if I stuffed a bell pepper with rice, and a small amount of minced meat, and shoved it with the oven with tomato sauce for example. Simple recipes with low ingredient counts are normally very cheap and delicious. They do however take time to make, time some people might not have because they have to work in order to finance the time they spend sleeping. Dental problems. Those impacted wisdom teeth are hella expensive. Being poor is very expensive. I make enough to pay my rent but I work so much I don't have time for a dental appointment. Even with a stimulus check, and priorities in place and a paycheck I could lose my house if my landlord isn't understanding. I need a job. I applied for McDonald's because it's easy and I'm broke and need the money. They need me to buy shoes and pants before I start. I have money left over from my paycheck but that doesn't mean I can afford anything more than laundry detergent. It must be nice having fabric freshener and those beads that make clothes smell nice. I have to buy 2-in-1 because who can afford 2 bottles? I had to decide between car insurance or groceries. I haven't made a payment on my credit card in 2 years, even with a stimulus check. I've been driving an unregistered car for 6 months. I wish I could invest, but my son started school and he needed clothes and supplies. Just paying rent. Where I live, mortgage is way cheaper than getting a house, but they don't give me a mortgage because I don't earn enough. So I have to keep renting expensive places, making it take even longer for me to save up. And in my situation, getting a better paying job is difficult. I swear this world is made for the rich and middle class. Poor people are straight up used in every way possible. Poor people not only have a lot of kids, but they also tend to have them much younger than their wealthier counterparts. A lot of people like to assume it's because poor people are too dumb to understand birth control, so I'd like to offer a hypothetical perspective on this. Imagine you're a 17-year-old girl, growing up in poverty. You're not the best student, so even if you could get financial aid for college, you're afraid you wouldn't do very well anyway. Plus, you need that time to work, and make money, and school so far has only gotten in the way of that. After, if you graduate high school, you'll probably work the same minimum wage job you've been working, only now you'll get more hours. What do you have to look forward to? What's within your grasp that would make you something meaningful? Well, being a mom is pretty important and special. Everyone celebrates a new baby. Plus, like any 17-year-old, you're eager to show you're an adult now, and what could be more adult than being a parent? So yeah, you know about condoms. You and your boyfriend use them sometimes, but not always. You know that the clinic will give you birth control, but you gained weight and felt sick when you tried it, so you don't bother with it again. Plus it's a whole bus trip and a bunch of waiting, and you have better things to do. You're not planning to get pregnant, but when you end up that way, it's not some sort of death sentence. Abortion is expensive and scary, to say nothing of whether it's even accessible to you, or whether you or your family has a moral objection to it, so that's not really an option. And after the first couple weeks of anxiety, you start to get excited about how this could be a good thing. People are nicer to you than they've been in years, checking up on you, asking about the pregnancy and the baby. You're something now, you're a mom. Cheap equipment of all sorts. Like dollar store items that really shouldn't be available in the dollar store. This is the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. I always see everything in a dollar store by this metric. Sure, it's cheap, and if you only ever intend to use it once or a few times, then that's fine. Anything you need to use more than once, go somewhere else. A good modern example would be pots and pans, bakeware and similar. At a dollar store, even if you get a reusable baking tin, it's likely going to fail or rust or otherwise become unusable long before something that's 10x the cost at Walmart. Even the Walmart tin will likely last hundreds of times longer than the dollar store tin. If you're poor, the best thing you can do for these types of items is to buy them from thrift shops, anywhere they sell used goods. Buying a nice, but used item will last longer and cost less in the long run than something you buy at the dollar store. But dollar stores are immensely successful, because people are penny wise but pound foolish. Like and subscribe, for more funny, interesting, and scary r/ask Reddit videos.